All right, welcome everybody. Welcome to Talkin Investing. I'm here with Tom, Tom, and George. Hello, George.
Hey, Tom. Just so you know, I'm not talking at all about the Buffalo Bills.
You don't have to talk. We can see
I
your feelings.
believe.
Believe. All right.
Well,
Well, I'm not a believer. Well, not in the Buffalo Bills. I will tell you guys, I want to look at the chart and we'll get to everything, of course. Hello, everybody. Welcome, everybody. I hope you guys had a good week. Bitcoin did okay today. I mean, really, it did okay. When we look at the charts, you're going to see this was a decent day for Bitcoin. The Bitcoin miners did not behave well at all, in my opinion, and they were very, very stubborn. So we're going to try and get to the bottom of that. We'll go through what each one did. Just a special shout out. I see a lot of people in the chat, a lot of members. So welcome to all of the members. Thanks so much for joining us. And of course, welcome to all of our subscribers and welcome to everybody. So while we're at it, I think I got to do something here. Here we go. There we go. I just had to fix my equipment. If everybody would please be so kind as to smash the like button. It makes a gigantic difference for the live stream. It helps us in real time. It is much appreciated. I see 43 likes. We are shooting now for 200 likes per live stream. I will tell you, we did get over 500 likes on one live stream over the last few weeks. That was our all-time record. So thank you very much, everybody, for that. This was not the greatest week of all time for Bitcoin. Or really for Bitcoin or the Bitcoin miners. I'm going to show you guys that I think Bitcoin is trading at a very tight range and really nothing has happened. Every day seems like gigantic volatility, but I think we are stuck in a loop. I think there's a reason for that, several reasons, but one big reason, which everybody can probably guess and we will talk about. But the Bitcoin miners these have turned into swing trade stocks in the short term. I'm not doing a lot of that, but I know that others are. So, I hope some of you guys are making big money. Be careful on the swing trading, do only if you know what you're doing. Same thing with options, short-term options, but there is money to be made. As you guys know, I'm mostly a buy and hold, but I do use options in the short term when things are going sideways and moving inside of a range to, try to pick up a few dollars along the way.
Swing and a miss. Sorry.
Well, I've had plenty of those too. That's for sure. I think everybody that uses options knows you win some, you lose some. You just gotta win more than you lose, and you got to mitigate your losses. If you're doing that, if you're stopping out, if you're riding every option to the bitter end and letting them, either be a big win or go to zero, that's probably, most people that do that end up on the wrong side of, the ledger, so to speak. But, if you're careful, and I know a lot of you guys have experience, I know some of you don't. We have done, we did a couple of members only deep dives on options a while ago. It's been a while. Maybe we can do some more, especially if these Bitcoin miners, these have turned into the ideal, swing trade stocks. And I don't even want to fixate on that because that's really not what I do. It's not what we've talked about here for a long time. But, while we're at it, that's what's happening. Right? When you've got, I'll just take an example. TerraWolf was down almost 12% today. There's going to be a day in the next week where it's up 12%. Well, playing options on those types of trades, you can have huge, huge returns, but you got to be careful. That gets into a little bit of looking at the technicals. It's not a game of, it's not a guessing game. You should have a strategy, have a method like we always talk about on this channel. You should have a plan regardless, whether it's for a short-term swing trade, an options play, or, your long-term entry and exit points on stocks. Ross Lecky said, "Hey, Tom, saw you on Stock Up with Larry Jones." Yes, I want to thank if anybody is here from Larry's audience, welcome. I want to thank Larry That was very nice of him to give us a shout out. And he has very loyal subscribers. I've come to find out because we did get a lot of visitors. So again, thanks to everybody. If you're here from there, I hope you guys enjoyed the video yesterday, and I hope you enjoy the live stream. What are you thinking, George?
Nothing. I just don't think anything's going to happen this weekend or tonight for the ETF. I'll tell you that one.
Yeah.
When did Riot dilute 24.3 million shares?
They put in their update, in their December update, they told us how many shares they had outstanding at year end, and there was some dilution. I will go through that. By the way, that is my next video. I have prepped for a Riot deep dive, so I think I'm going to try to get that out on Saturday, so I will definitely talk more about that. They did do some dilution. I would just caution everybody, all of these companies are going to continue to do stock dilution. So the key is, it's a broken record, but is it quality stock dilution? Is it accretive to the business? And with Bitcoin miners, this becomes an easier equation than with most companies. With most companies, there's not such clear and obvious. With Bitcoin miners, they dilute, they raise equity, they buy Bitcoin mining machines, right? That's how you do this. That's how companies get from 0 to 10 exahash, 20 exahash. Riot has a plan to get to 38 exahash. I won't mention the fact that they talked about 100. That one I'm not really keyed in on, but I do think they have a pretty solid plan to get to 38, and it's going to take some dilution to do that. Now, Riot and Marathon have a big advantage, and CleanSpark is starting to be in that group. Their market caps are such, and the price of Bitcoin mining machines is down so drastically compared to most of these companies the first time they geared up. For instance, the 12.4 exahash that Riot is at, and really the 23 exahash that Marathon is at, they paid triple, quadruple the price per machine as all of these companies are now paying. That was a big bottleneck. That was the biggest cost. That was their CapEx cost. And obviously there's others depending on your business model, but these machines are now going the latest and greatest, the good stuff that's significantly generations better than the machines that were bought the last time around, are trading for, it's a third of the price. So that's really changing the equation for the Bitcoin miners. It's one of the reasons that I've gotten more and more bullish, and it's a part of the overall thesis of why I think, the Bitcoin miners, and I will say for the 9 millionth time, I do think there will be winners and losers. I think there's going to be more winners than there are losers at this point, but time will tell. But this is not throw a dart at a board. These stocks are not all going to infinity, but the good companies that are executing operationally on a high level and financially, I think and that have set themselves up for the halving. And we'll talk more about those. Those companies are poised to have a lot more room to the upside, in my opinion.
Tom.
Yes.
Let's start with Marathon. They're the biggest company in this Bitcoin mining world.
Yes.
What are they doing to us?
Are you talking about the price action on the stock?
Yes.
Because,
yes.
Well, then it's not what is Marathon doing to us. It's what are whoever, the forces that are at work in the market doing to us. So Marathon ended the day down 8%. That was not their low on the day. It was actually worse than, I think I may have saw down 12% at one point in the day. So, and I didn't buy any Marathon today. I did dollar cost average in a little bit today. So as you guys, those of you who have been here for a while, I have been very measured. I continue to dollar cost average in, but a lot of these days are incredibly tempting. When you see down 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12%, 13, at one point, who was it? TerraWolf was down 13 or 14%. They finished down 11.87%. This feels like a screaming buy, and you want to go all in. But this is like the sixth day in a row, fifth or sixth day in a row, where every day feels like that. So, I have tried to be very careful and space things out. And we talked about last Friday on the live stream. We talked about the fact that I thought maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, a few days this week, we would have a dip. And, Monday night, as Bitcoin took off, even into, Tuesday morning, in pre-market, all the Bitcoin miners were straight to the moon. And that quickly got erased. So, I think that was the selling pressure. We talked on the members only live stream. So Tuesdays, we do have a live stream that is for the members only. Again, thank you. I see a bunch of members here, so much appreciated. We had a great members only live stream. And we talked a lot about how we thought even after Tuesday, there would potentially be some more, buying opportunities going forward. So, I did buy, I think at least 2 days this week, I did some buying, and that's just me. And again, this is not financial advice. And, you guys need to know what you're doing and how that fits into your plan. But I did take some opportunities to buy this week, but I didn't go crazy. And there were times Marathon got down to, it was trading with a 20 handle. That felt like a all in situation. Given that, just a few days earlier, they were trading up at $31. So, in my mind, I think of it this way. If you've got a price target for Marathon of $60, and that is not my long-term price target, that is not, I think they will go beyond that price, but let's just use it as an example, $60. If you bought Marathon at 31, $60 is a double for you. If you waited for it to pull back from 31 to 20 and change, well, now all of a sudden 60 is a triple for you. So it does make a big, big difference. Now, again, I never try to time it. I don't buy things, I don't go all in on any one given day, but I try to buy opportunistically. I try to buy the dips and continue to average in. So that's my
why didn't you buy it? Why didn't you buy any Marathon today? Because you think it's going to go lower again on Monday?
Well, I still think there's more potential downward pressure. And again, I am willing. One of the other things, and I did not invent this. I think it's an important part of people's investment strategy. You have to be willing. You're not going to get every deal. So, I have a price target on a lot of stocks. And I don't buy when they get close. I wait until they get there because I have enough of them that do get to the price target that, had I spent my money on the one that got most of the way to my price target instead of waiting for one to pull all the way back. So I try to use that philosophy. That, again, this is a part of having a plan.
Right,
so,
okay.
If Marathon gets back down to 20, I will be a buyer. It may not. At this point, it absolutely may not. However, I'm going to say the same thing on this live stream that we talked about last Friday. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday to me are some 3 more days where they can mess with us. And I'll let George talk more about the fact that, a lot of this, they're messing with us in a big way. Let me get to the super chat. And before I do that, I would say if everybody could please do us a giant favor and smash the like button. It helps the channel out. It helps the stream out in real time. So that is much appreciated. Let's see. Midway, thank you very much for the super chat. And thank you for being a member. Midway said, what's your opinion on Bitfarms doing a synthetic hodl strategy? Are they trying to time the market again? I do have an opinion on this. I gave a little bit of this. I did a deep dive on Bitfarms a couple of months ago. And I'm going to do another one in a few days. And I will tell you, I just rewatched that video. And they, it's one of those situations where I said 5 or 6 things that I thought were going to happen. They all happened. And that is not because, I have a crystal ball and I read into the future. They told us what they were going to do. So all I was doing was, and that's a lot of what we do on this channel. I spend a massive amount of time, listening to the conference calls, reading the financial statements, I am all due diligence on these stocks, for my own purposes. So in these deep dives, a lot of times I'm just telling you what management has already said. And sure enough, I mean, it was like check mark, check mark, check mark. They did every single thing that they said they were going to do, which I like, because that's the other thing. A lot of times companies will say they're going to do XYZ and then they don't. So, that's a big signal to me. If companies aren't doing what they say they're going to do, that is a gigantic red flag. As to the synthetic HODL, I will tell you, I'm not a big fan. I'm just not a big fan of this strategy. Having said that, Bitfarms made what could have been a catastrophic mistake early in 2022. It affected their business for more than a year. It affected stockholders, shareholder, potential investor sentiment, for a year or a year and a half. And, what they did, just quickly, they borrowed a lot of money, and with that money, they bought Bitcoin and added to their HODL position. Well, the problem is, as it turns out, they bought high, and then eventually they were forced to sell low. And in order to, they were going out of compliance with their debt covenants, and so they had to do a massive restructure to their business. And to their credit, operationally, there's two worlds. That was one action. It turned out to be a gigantic mistake. I will say at the time, if you guys all put yourself back in, November of 2021, December of 2021, we had Plan B out there talking about 116,000, 150,000 Bitcoin. Everybody was talking about, when not if Bitcoin's going to hit 100,000 and beyond. So, like they probably maybe got caught up in the hype a little bit. They took a risk. Now, they were able to work their way out of that risk. I thought it was an outsized risk. I don't blame them for making it. I understand what they did, but it caused them a lot of havoc. So a lot of people may be saying, here we go again. So just so that you know, synthetic HODL strategy, and I saw they did trademark that term. It's really very simple. They're buying options on Bitcoin is what they're doing. So, they're spending a fraction of the price to lock in some potential upside if and when Bitcoin runs. So they did hire a risk management officer. And so what they're doing this time around holds, just a very small fraction of the risk of what they did last time around. So in that regard, this is not something that is going to make or break the company. This is not a high risk thing they're doing. I personally, I would rather see them invest in infrastructure, and they're doing a great job investing in infrastructure. They just rolled out a plan that, to me makes them one of the best buys. Not financial advice. I'm just telling you, it's one of my big positions, and I dollar cost averaged into that thing like crazy over the last 15 months. So I'm very happy with what they've done. This piece of what they do, it's small dollars. I don't love it. If I had anything to do with it, which I don't, I would tell them don't do this. But, they also have a risk management officer who has a full-time job, and, this is what he's doing with his job. And listen, maybe he's a rocket scientist and a genius for all I know, and this is going to pay off big for them. I don't know. I'm just saying, to me, you're a Bitcoin mining company. Stick to what you do. Mine Bitcoin, HODL Bitcoin if you can. Grow your business. That's my opinion.
It's amazing that you can't just do two things at once.
I mean, like I said, listen, I hope this works out for them. And I think it probably will, to be honest with you. Even though I think it's going to work out, it's just not something that I would do if I were making the decisions.
Oh, I saw something we got to talk about.
Uh-oh.
MicroStrategy.
MicroStrategy. All right, I got an article pulled up.
Do you?
You
would think that we did show prep, guys, but we didn't.
We do. We just do it separately. So then when we get here, we compare notes, and sometimes we have the same thing. So I don't know if I have the exact same thing, but I have a MicroStrategy, Michael Saylor thing.
Yep.
And So you want to go, or you want me to pull up the article that I got?
Are we ready for a poll, guys? I mean, I think we're kind of ready for a poll
Oh,
first.
we are due, if not overdue, for a poll. For those of you who just joined us, welcome to the live stream. Thank you for being here. If you guys could be so kind, if you would, if you enjoy this content, if you want to help the channel and help the live stream in real time, get more people, spread the news, spread the word about Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners, you can smash the like button. It does help the algorithm. It makes a huge difference on these live streams. So I appreciate it's much appreciated. And of course,
Tom, what poll are we doing first? Are you doing ETF?
Let's start with the. I mean, this is bigger than the 800-pound gorilla. So just a minute to type.
I will tell you, today felt like one of those days that they were trying to spook everybody. Spook us, spook us, spook us. I was waiting for more news to drop, like negative.
Yeah, there really wasn't any big Bitcoin related news. There was some other news that I will go through. There was some economic data that came out. I think that scared people a little bit needlessly, senselessly, in my opinion. I'll go into that and tell you what I think of that. So many of these data points that the U.S. government puts out a lot of different data points, and every time the market has this knee-jerk reaction. Typically, that whatever that knee-jerk reaction is, it evaporates over a very short period of time, whether it's 24 or 48 hours. Sometimes it takes a week or two. But these knee-jerk reactions, I feel like they're gigantic buying opportunities more than anything else. And it was some jobs information. We'll go through that in a minute. But let me get this poll up. So I'm starting the poll. So the $1 trillion question, will we get the Bitcoin spot ETF next week, Wednesday or sooner? Wednesday is the 10th. This is the day we've been talking about for so long. There's got to be, I know my feed is just full of them and I can't watch them all, but like, man, there have been more videos put out on this spot ETF. And I can't tell you, I'll bet you if you spent 3 hours, you could find 500 videos that say, spot ETF confirmed. Spot ETF's going to happen tomorrow. 100% confirmed. And I always try to tell everybody, nothing is 100% and nothing is confirmed until it happens. So many videos were put out that it was, secret information, confirmed, ETF happening today. So we now know that didn't happen. And just, always remember, these people on YouTube, that's just some person on YouTube. Like, they don't have some back channel to Gary Gensler. There's one person on the face of this earth, maybe two, but one person, and that is Gary Gensler. He knows when and if there's going to be a Bitcoin spot ETF approved. George, do you know who the second person is?
Yeah, thank you. That's why I'm laughing when you said that. I'm not mentioning any names or any organizations.
There may be a certain very large financial institution, and the person at the head of that may also be, he'll be the second person to know. The guy, the man or woman or individual you're watching on YouTube, they will not be the second person to know. They will not be in the loop. That's all I can tell you,
or
myself
the third,
included.
or the fourth,
or the 100th.
Yeah, right.
Couple of super chats. Let me just get to these. Corey Marshall, thank you very much for the super chat, and thank you for being a member. Tom, talk to me. Nice Bitfarm need. It haven't sold one against its. Just make. There's a few typos here, but just make me feel good. I lost 16K from the top. Well, Corey, if it makes you feel any better, I have not sold one single share of any of my Bitfarms. It is one of my top 3 largest positions. Right now, I must admit, all my top 3 largest positions in my entire portfolio are all Bitcoin miners. Well, if my top
Tom,
4...
Are
Go
you
ahead.
up or down? You're up though on Bitfarms, aren't you?
I'm up now on
Yeah.
Bitfarms, and it took a
Yeah.
long time for me to get
Right.
there. I dollar cost averaged in for a
For
year,
yeah, I was gonna
and
say for over a year. You're right. Right.
right, over a year. And, I've held for a long time, and it took a long time to get back to even. And then, you know, I, and that's a part of the video I made a few months ago. And I'm going to show some clips from that in my next video. And if you've been watching this channel, I pounded the table. And again, I can't tell you guys what to buy or sell. And this is not financial advice, but I was crystal clear on what I was doing and why. They told us what they were going to do. And then they went and borrowed they didn't borrow. They did a stock dilution of $60 million. The market panicked and Bitfarms fell back down to $1 and, $1.02. Well, I backed up the truck. And, at $1, you can you can increase your position a lot. So it was clear to me. I said that day, expect in the next 5 business days or less, you're going to get a gigantic update. Now, the update they put out was beyond my best expectations. So even I was very pleasantly surprised, but there was absolutely no doubt. They already told us they were going to borrow money and buy the 21s, the latest and greatest. Now, it turned out to be the T21s. I thought it was going to be the S21s, and they had their reasons. But they were going to skip the XPs and go to the next generation. So they spent $0.00 on the XPs, which are great machines, and they will still be useful all through this next halving. But, the new machines are even significantly more efficient than that. So sure enough, just 3 days later, we got the biggest announcement Bitfarms has ever put out by a mile. The stock ran from $1 to over $3. That's a triple in a short period of time. And by the way, they told everybody. Like, there's not very often times where you get that, I call it it's an easy setup. And again, nothing is guaranteed. So, when you put your money in the market, it's always at risk. But to me, it's risk reward. And to me, that was one of the easiest setups of all time. So if you want to feel good about Bitfarms, all I can tell you is I have not sold one single share. And I will tell you, one of the things that I bought today, I did buy options, and I bought short-term Bitfarms options because they were crashing. So I did buy some of those. So that's me, not financial advice. You guys do what you do.
I can tell you one thing that didn't really turn out to be true.
What?
And that's that those bastards over in Saudi Arabia
What?
remember? They were supposed to buy 500 billion. They had $500 billion. They're going to rotate it all into, remember? This happened just like 2 weeks ago. Do you remember this?
I do remember this, but I told you and everybody at the time, they're not just going to drop $500 billion.
But it doesn't even look like
into-
we put $1 in.
Maybe they haven't. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know when or if. And you can rest assured of this, they're going to do it in a way. If they can, they're going to try and drive the price of all this down before they do it or while they do it. So, yes.
What?
Surprise, surprise.
Say it isn't so.
Delta Homie, I think you deleted your message for whatever reason, but thank you very much for the super chat. It is much appreciated. And thank you for being a member.
What, do you get a refund?
I don't think he asked for a refund. I don't see any other comments, but if you do have a thought or a question, thank you for the...
put one in and they just disappeared.
It says message retracted, so I'm not sure why, but I do appreciate the super chat. It is much appreciated. I think that money's coming in, George, and I don't know. Like, listen, it could take them 5 years to put $500 billion into the market. And remember, this whole... I'm going to just go show this real quickly. If we go here, and this is from coinmarketcap.com, so, give or take, these all have a little bit different numbers, but they're saying right now the entire crypto universe is only just a little over $1.5 trillion. So to add $500 billion to that, you're going to have to dollar cost average in over a very long period of time. And there's a lot of money coming into this. This is what I'm saying. So I'll reiterate what I always tell everybody. I'm extremely bullish on Bitcoin in 2024 and in 2025. So, it's hard to go beyond that. I know typically then we would maybe be due for what in the past has turned into a crypto winter. I don't think we're going to get that dramatic of an event this time, but I certainly would not be surprised by a big pullback, a bear market. A normal bear market by normal definitions in the equity markets is a 20% pullback or more.
All right.
I would, 30 or 40% in cryptocurrency is, that's nothing. So that would
That's
not,
Monday.
right. That's exactly. So that would not surprise me at all. What I'm saying is I don't think we're going to see these 75, 85, 90% pullbacks anymore in Bitcoin. Now, if you are in an altcoin, and the smaller the altcoin, the larger the volatility. So, you could see huge swings there, but Bitcoin in particular, I just want to go, let's see.
Did you see Crypto Fever?
Yeah, that's where I was going to get. Let's get to Crypto Fever. Crypto Fever, thank you very much for the super chat. That is very much appreciated, very generous. And also thank you for being a member of the Talkin Investing Squad. Crypto Fever asks, we are not in ahead of our skis. ETF are not priced in. This will be a buy the news event. Let's do some supply and demand math. I'm posting in the comments, people are drastically underestimating what's coming for Bitcoin and the miners. So thank you for that, Crypto Fever. And I will tell you, I have one tiny caveat I would add to that, but in general, I agree with every word of that.
All right.
I think this is a buy the news situation. I think that having said that, like I just talked about with the economic data that came out today, we have knee-jerk reactions that are, sometimes they're just inexplicable. There's just no comprehending why the market reacts the way it does in any 24 or 48-hour window of time. But this is a buy the news situation in that this will forever, the Bitcoin Spot ETF is going to forever change the supply and demand equation on Bitcoin. So, the day this happens is, things will have only just begun and they will continue. The demand pressure on Bitcoin is going to continue. And as the spot ETFs grow, that's just taking supply off of the market basically forever. Right? Unless you think these ETFs are going to peak quickly and then people are going to sell them off, in all likelihood, this money is going to trickle in over time and these will grow and grow and grow. And there is a very limited supply of Bitcoin on chain right now to begin with, right? There's only going to ever be 21 million Bitcoin in total. Millions of those are already lost forever. There's only a couple of million on chain. And, as this thing goes, we could see, and I don't know when, and it's not necessarily going to be the day we get this announcement or the week or even the month. But yes, this I believe is going to be the biggest catalyst for Bitcoin of all time.
Robert, I thought it was just me.
What? Uh-oh.
We've only just begun. Sorry.
The Carpenters, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
For those of you old enough to remember. Delta Homie, welcome back and thank you again for the super chat. Thoughts on Cypher going forward? Been dollar cost averaging in a lot lately. Thanks, Tom. Love what y'all doing. Thank you, Delta Homie. Thanks again. Thanks for the super chat. Thanks for being a member. I will tell you one of the other things that I bought today, and this is my newest position. I am dollar cost averaging into Cypher as we speak, and I bought some today. So I like Cypher. I'll go through some of their numbers. And they put out a press release that I'm going to go through. And I think the market is missing this big time. And it is confusing. I wish they were doing this a different way, but it is what it is. They have a joint venture that really, it muddies the water up for the average investor because of the way that, they're using the equity method of accounting to account for this. And it makes things a little bit more complicated than maybe they need to be. I don't love joint ventures. That's one of the reasons that I don't love joint ventures in any instance. I do like what Cypher is doing. I think they're from their market cap. I think there's a lot of room to run for Cypher. So it's by no means my biggest play. Like I said, this is my newest position in the Bitcoin mining crypto world. So it's a 2020, well, late December 2023 is when I started this position. But today I did average in, if that answers your question on what I think of them, I'm a buyer.
What do you think your price prediction is before you get out on that? I mean, it's 391 is what it closed at.
Cypher is a buy and hold for me.
Forever and ever?
Well, I don't plan on, other than maybe.
Tom, you always tell me to have an exit. When you go in, you say have an exit. That's what you said to me.
Have a plan, have an entrance strategy, have an exit strategy. That is all true for Cypher. It's one of the Bitcoin miners that I have a high level of conviction in. I think they will be one of the winners, so I think there's a lot of room left to the upside. So I'll be looking to start, taking profits and trimming this position. And I've only just started building it. So, if things go my way, I'll get to add a little bit to this position.
So,
we'll see what
happens.
happens.
How do you build out your positions, Tom? I mean, what do you do, just so I have an idea? I mean, do you wait for a 10% pullback, a 5% pullback, a 20% pullback? I mean, what do you look for?
I try to look at opportunities. So not all opportunities look the same. Sometimes things can be down 5% and maybe it's not the greatest opportunity. There's other times that things can be up 1% and it is a good time to dollar cost average in. So, you got to look at the entire big picture compared to what Bitcoin is doing that day, compared to what the markets are doing that day, what the dollar is doing that day, what your investment, your stock you're looking to buy into is doing that day. But, I would like to increase this position. Obviously, today was a big red day. So in general, unless there's some specific thing, catastrophic thing out there, but there wasn't. Today, there was no reason for these Bitcoin miners to be down other than, I think, some continued profit taking. I believe that is the biggest reason by far we're seeing this pullback. I think there's some manipulation because everybody is just freaked out as to whether or not this ETF, the spot ETF, is going to happen next Wednesday or not. So there's a lot of uncertainty that can lead to panic selling, that can lead to FOMO buying, and we've had both of those over the last month, and I don't think they're done. But today is a day where fundamentally I found no reason why the Bitcoin miners that I'm invested in should be pulling back. So, I don't buy every single one every single day, but today's a day that I bought.
Interesting. If you haven't done so, please hit the like button. It really helps the stream out quickly. I guess I'll take the last comment. What do you think about Wolf? Woof woof.
My position on Wolf, and I don't mean by position, I don't mean my stock position. I don't own any TeraWolf, but my thoughts, my feelings on Wolf are, I think the run up in their stock, the run up in their market cap has been a game changer for them. Now they've pulled back quite a bit recently. So there may be people who view this as a buying opportunity. I've looked closely myself. I just have so many ahead of them that I didn't buy in, but I've taken a good look at them. And, I looked at maybe buying some options on TeraWolf because today, am I mistaken? They were down like 12% today or something like that. Let me go back to, I don't know why I'm not on this anyway. Yeah, they were down 11.87% today. So I think, if you're looking to add to your position, this was as good a time as any. I was very, very worried about their debt. They did address their debt in their December operational report. They had they generated a bunch of free cash flow in the month of December, and they talked about, I think they were going to use about $14 million of that to pay down their debt. Now, they have much more debt than that. So it's good to me that they're paying it down. I wish they would have been a little more specific, like Bitfarms was, they said, we have this much debt, we're paying down this much, and we're paying the rest down to zero on this day. So that's specific. This was a little more general. They did specifically say they're paying 14 million towards their debt, so that helps, but they have a lot of debt left. Now, when their market cap, when their debt was 50 or 60% of their market cap, or even more than that at one point, that was deeply concerning to me. That means, in the meantime, their market cap tripled. So now all of a sudden, with some stock dilution, they're cash flow positive with Bitcoin having run up. So a couple of things happened at the same time, and one's a function of the other. Their stock ran up a bunch because Bitcoin's had a fantastic run, but they have a very good gross profit margin. So they're generating cash flow. They're able to pay down their debt as a result of that. And their market cap's gone way up. So if push comes to shove, here's an instance where, because they have debt on their books, and typically I like debt to be used towards CapEx most specifically because these companies, are very capital intensive. They require a lot of infrastructure to continue to grow because remember, they are in a race, not against their competitors specifically. In general, the exahash rate, they've got two clocks ticking. The worldwide hash rate continues to grow. And as a result, the difficulty level continues to grow. So they have to race again. If they're not adding enough infrastructure and exahash to keep up with the global growth, then even if they're getting bigger, relatively speaking, they may actually be getting smaller. And so therefore their stock price is going to suffer. On top of that, we're just 3.5 months away from the Bitcoin halving, where the reward is going to get cut in half. And I know we'll talk more about the fees later. If things go well, that could soften the blow substantially. The fees will have more of an impact to soften the blow of this halving by far than in any other previous halving event. And that will continue to be true as time goes by. It will be more and more significant. So, it won't be a straight up 50% reduction in production for these companies as a result of the halving. Now, there's also the increase in the global hash rate and the difficulty level. So, you've got to keep up with both of those things.
Hey, guess what happened, guys? We turn on the chat. We start talking to you guys. Bitcoin 44K. Boom.
Bam. We got a nice little streak. Hopefully we didn't just jinx it, but
I know.
Lately the Bitcoin's been running during the stream. Having said that, lately Bitcoin's been running in general, so that's been a good thing.
Somebody asked about the 10K challenge, and it seems to be I get the lucky enough to give the updates. Unfortunately,
this I'm sure was a tough week. I mean, look at look at this board right here. When this board is red, the 10K challenge is not having a good week.
Well, we got up to $7,000 down from 1.6K. We started this in 22, right, Tom?
January 1st,
Sometime
2022.
Yeah. It got back up to 7,000. Right now, it's $5,500. So that's real time. We haven't made any real trades in it. Pretty much just stuck on some miners, Bitcoin miner stocks. So once this takes off, we'll probably maybe switch around. But it's interesting to see, Tom, that there's really not much of a loss now holding for those 2 years. I mean, it just sucks that we haven't had a return, but it's not too bad.
And the biggest thing is, and the biggest regret for the challenge that we set up was we were not allowed to add to the challenge. So we started with 10K on January of 2022. Remember, the peak of Bitcoin was November of 2021. So we basically tried to take our time. We took about 3 or 4 months, dollar cost average into several things, 3 of which were Bitcoin miners. And, in 105 days, we had used our $10,000. We had 1,000 on the sidelines to, still have a little bit of opportunity. But unfortunately, that was simultaneous. March 28th was Bitcoin's last hurrah. That's when it ran back up to 48,000. from that moment forward for the next year plus, we were in a crypto winter. So, we had no ability to buy in, and the thing just suffered. So it got down to what, $1.6 thousand. It got
Yeah,
back
yeah.
over 7,000, just a few weeks ago. And now we're having a little pullback. But I will tell you, I'm confident we'll end, that will end much higher than it started. And just to take a look, I do have a chart here that you guys should see on the screen. Let me see if I can move this up a little.
And you need to talk about Hive, because Hive is really making me, I'm getting stung all over the place.
I'll talk about Hive, but that's just because of what you had a certain situation happen to you.
Yeah, I know, but
so since last Wednesday, this I'm saying December 27th. That seems like forever ago. That was last Wednesday. That was the peak for Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners. We've had a little bit of a reversal. Thursday and Friday were the last two trading days of the year for the equity markets. There was a sell-off on those 2 days, and then this year started with a sell-off. So you can see in just 1 week, a little over 1 week, this is what has happened to the Bitcoin miners. Bitcoin's up 1%, and the Bitcoin miners are, these are some small. Argo's a very small market cap. DMG is a very small market cap. Core Scientific is its own story. It's, it will be coming out of Chapter 11 imminently. And then you've got Riot and Marathon. These are the two largest by market cap. Marathon is now by far the largest by market cap for almost the entire year of 2023. Riot was the largest by market cap. Marathon, is now about $2 billion ahead of Riot in market cap. By the way, the market cap of Marathon plus Riot a year ago was less than $2 billion. So now that's the spread between the two of them. If it shows you just what a good run these companies have had over the last year. So yes, the last 6 or 7 trading days have been pretty punishing depending on what stock you own. Here's your Hive, George, down 27% in that period of time. So, this has been a rough run. But if we look at, it's only fair if we're going to look at that, we should look at this. This was last year. So this was the entire trading year for the equities of 2023. So if we look at this, and this again, this is the trading year from the first for the equity markets. So this is from day one of the equity markets to December 29th was the last trading day of the year. So in that time, Bitcoin was up 154%. So really, that's a home run year for Bitcoin. I know there's years that are better than that. I think one of the next 2 years may be one of those years. Maybe both if things go, spectacularly. But look at what the Bitcoin miners did, right? We just saw, they're down a little bit, but, Marathon was up 587% last year. Bitfarms was up 561% last year. Cypher, that somebody asked me about, they were up 638% last year. So there were big moves. So yes, we're in the middle of a pullback. This is one of the reasons that I'm dollar cost averaging in very slowly. Even though if I go back to the chart we were just on, if I can find that. I'm not sure I can find that. Anyway, you saw things were down between 20 and 40%. But, you don't want to get overly excited because that really gets, well, I'll go to an actual, let's say for CleanSpark, for instance. CleanSpark from its peak, this is CleanSpark's chart. So this was the 27th. That's the day I measured from. That was the last really green day of the year. That was last Wednesday. So from there until now, CleanSpark's down 24%. But also from there until now, CleanSpark's just back to where it was, 2 weeks ago. So yes, it is a pullback. And, if you're strict dollar cost average person, you buy regardless. But it's not like this is some out of this world buying opportunity. We're just back to where we were 2 weeks ago. And by the way, that was that point was after, almost a 200% run up. So we just got back to where we were after a 200% run up. So I caution everybody, as we have these red days, just keep in mind in the big picture, where have these stocks been and where do you think they're going? Even with CleanSpark, I do have my price target for the, peak of the bull market, which could easily still be 18 months away from now, is much, much higher than where it is right now. So, it's still a buy to me, but I don't have to get all in right here just because we had a little pullback. What if we go retest one of these lines from 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago? It's not out of the question that happens. So we always got to remember there's room to the upside, room to the downside. And, that's the concept of dollar cost averaging. Now, if you're swing trading, then you're looking at the technicals and looking for shorter term opportunities. And I understand that, and that's a valid strategy. To me, even on a swing trade, I'm not all in because, the RSI, we were, a few weeks ago, and if you don't care about the technicals, I won't get too deep into this. So, I'll bear with me. I'll be quick. On December 8th, 1 month ago, we were up at 86 on the daily RSI. That is an extremely overbought territory. Typically on the daily RSI, 70 is considered overbought. For the Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners, in my mind, I consider 80 overbought territory, but this was at 86. And you'll see we have to go back to July of 2023. Remember, we had that giant run up. All the Bitcoin miners hit their high for the year and then had a big pullback for 3 months. So, and then, you got to go back to, so this happened, you can see this got to 81, this got to 83, and then we recently got to 86. So that was very overbought. So even on a swing trade, we're not even back to 50, which is considered neutral on the daily RSI. And I know this is only one of many data points for those of you, deep into technical analysis, day traders, swing traders, look down to the minute or less. But this is not, it's, to me, it's an opportunity to dollar cost average. This could reset itself all the way down to, 30. You can see that's what typically happens. Back in October, we got down to, within, just about 30. Back in May, we got down to 30. So that is typically, if you pull up any stock anywhere, you're going to see that this is typically what happens. It fluctuates from overbought to oversold to overbought to oversold. And, these aren't perfect, but they are indicators of where you're at in a cycle. Now, when things are running and Bitcoin and cryptocurrency can run, you can stay overbought for a significant period of time. And we also learned, when things are stagnant, you can stay oversold for a long time. So, none of these are perfect. No one data point. I never trade off of any one data point. So, you try to look at the big picture, and you guys know, for those of you who have been with the channel a while, while I do look at all of this stuff, I think it's important. The vast majority of my time is looking at the fundamentals, looking at the financial statements, looking at the press releases and understanding what's happening with the business itself, because in the long term, I think that's what will dictate the price of these stocks. In the short term, there's a million irrational things. There's some technical things. There's some irrational things. There's, world events. There's data points like today. We got a jobs report that I think people should feel good about, but instead everybody feels bad about. And we'll talk more about why that is. A lot of you probably know. So, that's things work a little bit upside. A lot of people think that a good jobs report gives the Fed some either cover or concern that maybe the economy is still a little too overheated. We run the risk of some more inflation. And so maybe they're going to end up keeping interest rates higher for longer, which, as you know, was their mantra for a very brief period of time until they had to admit that they're not going to keep them higher for longer. And I will tell you, the jobs report today did have an impact. If we look at the FedWatch tool for the March meeting, these two lines, this represents a 25 basis point rate cut. This represents a 50 basis point rate cut. If I add those together, they're at 66%. So a week ago, they were at 88%. So, there have been several different things that have, I'll say, caused some hesitancy, uncertainty. We had some global events yesterday. We've got things geopolitical things going on that freaked the market out a little bit. And now we get, a jobs report that, and I'm going to go, let me see if I can find a good. So job gains picked up in December, capping year of healthy hiring. Unemployment held at 3.7. This is the unemployment number. And again, if you believe their number, I will just tell you, take these numbers with a grain of salt, because even this is the United States unemployment number. Even the federal government has 5 or 6 different internal numbers, the way they measure unemployment. So this is one of them. And this is historically low. It's been low now for, a record amount of time. And, that's one of the reasons they're concerned. Typically, they like to see, a lot more unemployment, a lot less new jobs means that the economy's cooling off, inflation is cooling off. But here's the thing. We see in the inflation numbers, all the inflation numbers that we've been getting, inflation peaked well over a year ago, coming up on a year and a half ago now. And it's been going down ever since. And like it or not, inflation or no inflation, this is a separate conversation, and this is my personal opinion. They will lower rates regardless of what the jobs numbers come in at, what the CPI data comes in at. It is my very strong opinion that they will be lowering rates significantly in the year 2024. And for me, it is just simply strictly, they have 34 trillion reasons why they are going to lower interest rates. The U.S. national debt just crossed $34 trillion. So we cannot afford to pay 4 or 5% interest on that over an extended period of time. It's not happening. They can't do it. They won't do it. So, I don't know the future. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But for me, that's part of my personal investment thesis. I just don't believe that that's something that they can do. I think they're boxed in. And by the way, everything else has given them more than enough cover. They kept interest rates high. They historically raised interest rates to get inflation under control. And while I do think they were late to the party in doing so, it is under control. And whether they were the reason for it or, it naturally got to a better place, it has happened. The things cost more than they used to cost. So inflation getting under control doesn't mean prices go back down to what they used to be. It just means they stop going up at the pace they were going up at, because that was not sustainable, for the general, public to live from paycheck to paycheck. So that's sorting itself out. Thank you. Somebody put in the comments section, smash the like button. If you could please smash the like button. I see we're getting a lot of likes. Much appreciated. I got a bunch of other charts I have not even gotten to yet, and some press releases and that kind of stuff. So we'll keep going. George, what do you got?
No, I've been reading the comments, guys. Sorry if I don't get to them all. But Darren Thomas said this. CleanSpark's going to screw George again. They filed a mixed shelf offering without disclosing the amount. Those bastards. Glad I sold the other day. I got 10,000 left. $10,000 to go and I'm out. See, this is why you got to take profit. This is why I like swing trading the most.
Well, I'll go back to what I said just less than 10 minutes ago. All of these companies will continue to dilute. Or conversely, right? CleanSpark has funded themselves to 16 exahash. They're expecting to be there in the middle of February if all goes as planned. I hope they get there in time, because I do think every day matters. Between now and the halving, every day matters. That's 6 additional exahash they're looking to get online. That's going to be, have the potential to add a lot of Bitcoin to their balance sheet between now and the halving. But unless you want them a year from now to still be at 16 exahash, then they're going to need money, right? Money does not fall from the sky.
I understand. It just sucks. You know what I mean?
And remember, let me show you something else. If I might. If I can find it. Okay. So let's go back in time just 1 year. CleanSpark's market cap was $146 million. So that I know that probably seems unfathomable right now, but 1 year ago, CleanSpark's market cap was $146 million. So when they went and had a $100 million shelf offering, that was a big deal. I'm going to go to what they're doing right now. Happen to have this one up. Refresh. So they are now just under a two.
Yeah, look at that. They're getting destroyed.
They're just under a $2 billion market cap company. So they went from $166 million market cap to just, 2 days ago, they were a $2 billion market cap company. So
this came out at 504. It's 520. They're down 2.25%.
I mean, they're down 2.25%, but if you look at the board, that still puts them in line with what a lot of these companies. Marathon was down 8% today. Iris was down over 8%. Cypher was down, over 6.5%.
And I sold my stupid things to unbelievable. They get me going and coming. Oh my goodness. I had what I have calls?
I can tell you guys this. And this is absolutely not financial advice.
Scumbags.
Almost
Sorry.
every single time one of the companies that I own announces an at-the-market offering, I buy more shares. Almost 100% of the time. Sometimes by coincidence.
Unbelievable.
If here would be a reason I wouldn't. Let's say overnight, all of a sudden, Bitcoin runs and it's up $5,000 in the morning when all these companies will be off to the races. So that will not be a buying opportunity. But all other things being equal, if this announcement causes CleanSpark to have a big pullback, I could just tell you that I will be buying because I know I just told you this story about Bitfarms.
It's going. It's going to pull back at least 20% now.
What do you guys?
This is a great example of.
I do not think it will pull back anywhere near 20%. Just
you don't.
Not unless unless Bitcoin gets clobbered. I don't think it will pull back disproportionately more than the other Bitcoin miners. So if the whole industry has a giant pullback,
I have a question. Why would they do it today? And not wait until if they have the spot ETF. Why wouldn't they wait until after that? If that was going to happen on Wednesday or Thursday?
Because wouldn't you rather get this out of the way and then get the momentum of that? Erasing this news?
No, because sometimes you can have stuff like that, slip it in, and it's not as big as news when there's nothing going on right now. And this was like the worst time ever because everybody's like so in tune to what's going on with Bitcoin pricing and the Bitcoin miners. A great example of that is HUT when they did their merger.
Yeah, and then look what happened. There was a gigantic pullback, and I bought it.
That wasn't. I bought it HUT. It was like 15%, I think.
No, I bought HUT at $8.10.
Crypto fever, George. Instead of panic, No. So here's why
$8.10. It got up to 16 in the middle. Now it's pulled back quite a bit because everything's pulled back in the last 7 days. But I'm still way up even after that pullback. By the way, that was just last month I bought it at $8.10.
I can't sell them yet. I just can't. That's why I still have them.
If there is a massive knee-jerk reaction to the downside, then that'll be all the more reason. Remember, I said I was very careful today and restrained in the amount of buying that I did on this dip. Well, here's a perfect example. If that stock gets crushed tomorrow, I will be adding to it big time. And I will still, I'm not going all in because the same principle holds. Something may happen the next day.
But here's why I'm so pissed. And this is, you guys don't know. Do you remember what was it, a month and a half ago I sold the calls?
George sold covered calls at $7.50. Now, at the time, those were way out of the money, and it seemed like a fantastic idea. Unfortunately, it was moments before, CleanSpark went straight through the roof. So,
No, somebody said do the opposite of George and you'll be fine. I totally agree with you guys. Can you believe I sold out of those today? Because CleanSpark went to like $9 and like some odd cents, and the numbers came way down, and then I sold out of them, and it was the stupidest thing I've ever done. Now, sorry. Who knows? Maybe I'm wrong.
It's one trade. Take things, and that's why I try to never do everything in one day, because you don't know what's going to happen the next day. And in this instance, you don't know what's going to happen later that same day. So,
right.
I wouldn't get too concerned. It's my personal opinion. I don't think you're going to see this stock plummet tomorrow. I think it's going to do roughly what all the other Bitcoin miners
tomorrow either. But Monday, that's a different story.
Oh, well, yes, you're right. Tomorrow, I think you can rest assured it will do nothing. But
I know it's a multi-year investment, not weeks, months.
So I did forget. This is our Friday live stream. That is another thing that is extremely common. I think it's silly, but a lot of companies will drop news after the market closes on Friday, so that it fades into the weekend by Monday morning.
Would you buy after hours on CleanSpark or no?
No, I won't. I don't. After hours to me are it is exceptionally rare for me to buy in after hours, because there's only a very, very small segment of the market trading in after hours. So you have no idea what big money is going to do in reaction to this news. So, maybe it's down 3% in after hours. Well, maybe big money is going to put it down 15% on Monday, or, maybe the reverse. Who knows? So I try not to, it's people call it the Wild West. And to me, that's how I view after hours. Listen, if you guys trade in after hours, I'm sure there's lots of people who have made good money after hours.
Gemini.
I'm not. What?
No, they want to do an IGF, inverse George fund.
George, listen, George gets a lot right. I'm not going to,
Hey, I'm up in my money. I'm up. I'm happy.
Everybody doesn't get every call correct. And no one day determines if somebody's right. My favorite comment on earth, and I've now gotten it, I've made well over 1,000 videos here on the channel. So when I tell you, I've gotten hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times, I've gotten the comment, this video didn't age well. The vast majority of those comments are within the first 24 hours the video's posted. Well, I got news for everybody. For the people who told me my CleanSpark video didn't age well when I made it at $3.50, when they told me that the next day, they should come back 2 months later when it's trading at $13, a week ago. So be careful about this didn't age well. One day is nothing in the stock market. Now, so something fundamentally changes, and there's catastrophic news for your company, then you can say, well, this didn't age well, and there's legendary examples of that, right? Somebody was just talking this morning about how, Jim Cramer was calling Bear Stearns a buy, and then it ceased to exist. Now, Bear Stearns, to be fair, that was one of the oldest and, considered one of the most sound financial institutions in the history of the United States. So, but, he makes that call, says it's a buy, and then all of a sudden, it's one of the biggest collapses in the history of the stock market. So things happen. But that didn't age well.
And I think that also we forget that crypto is traded 24/7. And, especially Bitcoin. And so everything's fluid. And what I mean by that, what we said right now might be different in 2 hours from now. You guys have got to make your own decisions and do your own research like we do. And sometimes some of us need to do more research. I'm not going to point fingers at anybody.
It is hard not to trade on emotion.
Yeah.
And that's what both, there's two. Panic selling obviously is an emotional thing. So retail investors are known, unfortunately, to buy high and sell low. And that is panic selling because someone's on the other end of that trade. Remember, when you sold low, what you thought was a sell, somebody else thought was a buy. And more often than not, it's who, in your opinion, George, this is your theory, who's buying your on the other end?
What are those? People that know, or people, how is it go? What was it? Somebody called them PTO or something? I forgot. The big money guys.
Big money, and financial institutions, hedge funds, right? They're the reason you're panicking because they short reports, be careful about short reports, be careful about, price downgrade,
Well, I'm
oh, JP
happy,
Morgan
honestly.
came out and downgraded the such and such stock. Okay, what are they doing? That's what their analyst is doing. What are they doing at their trading desk?
Well, I should look at it this way. I sold CleanSpark at like 13 something the other day, and I'm going to be able to get back in.
Yeah, see, there you go.
So I should be happy. I didn't get rid of all of them, but should have.
Edmund said, George, you're great.
Seeking Alpha is where that information came from. I have a question. If this was posted at 5:04 on Seeking Alpha, when does this mean this was probably filed?
I don't think the filings are time stamped; they're date stamped. So I don't.
Yeah, because I bet you people knew this all day. You know, the real people, the big money dudes.
I mean, it's not like CleanSpark was an outlier today. In fact, it behaved better than average. Right? It was better than Bitfarms. It was about the same as Hut and Hive. It was better than Riot. It was better than Marathon. Better than Cypher. Better than Iris. BitDeer had an update, but BitDeer is one of those outliers. It's been done the opposite, like day after day after day. It's a relatively new stock. They did put out their monthly operational report. I was disappointed. I gave that one a C, and that might have been generous. We don't know enough about BitDeer yet, in my personal opinion.
This is $500 million, by the way.
Okay, well, they're a $2 billion company. Iris Energy put out a $500 million at the market offering when they were a $230 million company.
What do they need all that money for?
Well, guess. Here's their thing.
$500 million. Wow.
Their two closest competitors, one of which they have mined more than every single month and year to date. Their two closest competitors are Marathon and Riot. Right? Riot's out there with purchase orders to get to 38 exahash. Marathon is at 24.7 and they already bought 7 more exahash. That puts them over 31, and they just said they intend to be at 50 in the next year and a half. So their two closest competitors are looking at 40 or 50 exahash. They just put a plan together, CleanSpark, to get to 20 exahash. So guess what? It's time to keep growing. Now, if they were going to take that money and, buy a yacht and sail the world, then, if you think that's who management is, then you sell this stock. If you think they're going to do what they did the last 2 years, which was go from one of the smaller Bitcoin miners. Give me 1 second, George, and hold that thought. Don't forget.
No, I'm not going to forget this thought.
I will tell you guys.
Going to agree with me.
CleanSpark put out a report a year and a half ago, and they said, it is our intention to be a top 5 Bitcoin miner. And I held CleanSpark, and I liked that company a lot, but I laughed, and I laughed, and I laughed. And I said, top 5 Bitcoin miner? That's those are pretty lofty goals, because they weren't sniffing the top 5. They couldn't look up high enough to see the top 5 at that time.
They're only 3 years old as of December.
I know. And at that time, they were very, very small. So now they're more than top 5. They mined the second most, Core Scientific notwithstanding, because they were in Chapter 11. Only Marathon mined more Bitcoin than CleanSpark in the year 2023.
That's impressive.
So they went from, to me, that was,
Can't you just go for 100 million?
What's 100 million get you anymore? They get 3 exahash? Maybe? That's not what they're doing. That's not the scale company they are anymore. And remember, their market cap dictates that a 500
I'm going to tell you.
this
I'm going to
500
tell you
Go ahead, your turn.
why I sold. I'm sorry. I'm going to tell you why I sold Cleanspark, and you're going to tell me I'm stupid, and you're going to say that wasn't.
I would never tell you that, George.
You would. I know, but you might say it with everybody else, like behind.
What?
This is when I sold it. When Zach sold like a whole bunch on the 24th or the 23rd or something like the 22nd of December, he sold a whole bunch of stock. Those guys sold stock like right before Christmas, right? And I was like, something must be going on. So you know what? I'm gonna sell a whole bunch of mine, and I kept enough to cover my calls that I sold, and then I sold the rest of it.
Well, that trade might end up working out very well for you. I would caution everybody, most frequently, when officers sell their stock, I would watch for 2 things. Number 1, it's not out of the blue. They have to announce that in advance. And number 2, it's typically around year end, and
Right.
it's for tax purposes. These guys got to pay taxes, and when a big portion of their compensation is stock based, guess what? You don't get to pay your taxes in stock. You got to pay it in cash. So if your compensation was stock, you got to sell some of it to get some cash to pay your taxes. And that is
Ghost just said that Clean just diluted 5,250,000 shares just now in the new filing. 50 million shares at most. So here's my next question. How do you price that in for what the new value of the stock would be, like a good entry point at the stock? What would that be right now? Because I love Cleanspark. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's my third largest position right now. That's another reason I got out, is because I was way too heavy into it. Second,
the way that you have to think of dilution, in my opinion, is it really shouldn't, unless you think they're doing something wasteful or nefarious with the money. This is a capital intensive industry, and we know these companies are going to raise money. So let's say they took out $100 million. Well, then in all likelihood, right now, machines are going at about $14 a terahash. So that's $14 million to buy 1 exahash worth of Bitcoin mining machines, right? So think of it, and that's just the Bitcoin mining machines. Then they need the infrastructure, and we know they've maxed out the machines they've already bought, maxes out their current infrastructure. So they will be growing their infrastructure. They're looking for opportunities there. They're also looking there's 3 or 4 companies that will be looking for inorganic growth opportunities, i.e. other machines that may become available based on companies that can no longer afford to stay in business post-halving. There have been several companies, including Cleanspark, that's been vocal about the fact that they think there's the potential for that opportunity. So opening an at-the-market offering allows them both organic growth in the way of buying their own machines, buying land and property and infrastructure to develop more data centers, and potentially buying turnkey operations, which, by the way, you live near some. They have already bought other businesses up and running operations and taken them over. So that's that's something they've already done with this type of money. So I would not be surprised if the opportunity presents itself. And I'm on record.
Monday they're going to get beat up. They're going to get beat up on Monday.
We'll see if they. I don't want to say I hope they do, because it's my golden rule: be careful what you wish for. So I never wish for a pullback. But if there is a pullback, for me, that will be a buying opportunity.
So if it's at $10, you're buying in when? When are you getting in?
Robert Anderson said, "Love dilution when done by a good company. Buying opportunity."
So you hear me? It's $10 now. When would you think about getting in?
I need to see what the Bitcoin has done. I need to see what the market is doing. If it is down, if it's moving in an outsized manner compared to the rest of the Bitcoin miners, then I will view that as a buying opportunity. If
Okay.
the Bitcoin miners are all down 3% across the board and CleanSpark's down 3% or 4%, then to me, it's not doing anything different than the rest of the Bitcoin miners. And because it is my largest position, I probably would not add to it in that instance. If the Bitcoin miners are down 3% across the board and CleanSpark's down 9% or 11% because of this, then boom, I'm in. Again, that's just me. And, everybody's different. This is one of my biggest positions. I think it's my largest position. So, I'd be a little slower to add to this because Bitfarms and CleanSpark provided an extended opportunity to buy low from November of 2022, really through October of 2023. That was a year. Those two, in my opinion, more than the rest of the Bitcoin miners, provided an unbelievable buying opportunity. And they're not the only ones. Marathon provided a phenomenal buying opportunity. Most of these companies we just showed you were up huge in the year 2023. So if you bought at the right time, but Bitfarms and CleanSpark lingered at lower numbers for longer as it pertains to the larger Bitcoin mining companies. Now, I know a lot of the microcap, nano-cap companies, they were beaten up still, mid to late September. And for those people who bought into those, they caught gigantic runs. I look at the fundamentals of those companies. So to me, those are swing trades. And that's not really what I'm doing right now. A lot of those companies, I do not think are going to make it. So I'm not going to buy a company. And I'm not saying that, you shouldn't. If that's the due diligence you do and you know what you're doing, if you see a company that you think, is going to double or triple or quadruple, even if you think they're going to go out of business 6 months later, take the run. If that's what you're doing, that's not what I'm doing.
Well, I mean, if it goes down to $8 and I sold it at 13, it's $5. I got to get back in. So I have another question.
I mean, if it goes down to $8, that's a pretty catastrophic move to the downside. So
It's going to get into the eights. I don't know if it will get to 8 something, but it will get to 8 something. Guarantee. It's just, unless something just happens parabolic with Bitcoin over the weekend. Okay, next question.
And we should end this poll. Would you like to suggest a new poll? So this poll was, will we get the spot Bitcoin ETF next week?
See, George is pissed. I am pissed because they screwed me twice. Listen, I shouldn't tell you. Should I say how much money I made off of? I made 6 figures off of CleanSpark, guys. So don't worry. I'm upset, but I'm not pissed. Okay.
Every time your portfolio goes down,
I didn't do anything wrong. Okay. I was very happy with what. I mean, I shouldn't tell you the truth.
Up is up. No, listen, hey, up is up, but you bring, this is a point that everybody, I'm just going to spin off of this point because it's important. Even when you're up big, it hurts. My portfolio is down in the last week, right?
Right.
If I could look at it and go, man, I got clobbered, but it's like, okay, but zoom out just a little. What's your portfolio look like for the last 2 months? You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
Yes, my portfolio is not going to hit a new all-time high every single day for the rest of my life. There are corrections, and if we're smart, like several people have said in the comments, those are buying opportunities. And so that's what I try to do, and you can only hope that you're right big picture. I don't know. We don't know where Bitcoin, nobody knows for a fact that Bitcoin is going to do what it's done in the previous cycle. So if we're wrong, we're wrong. But, you got to have an investment thesis. If you're going to be in the market, there is risk. There is always risk. And nobody sells at the perfect time.
I just think that Bitcoin miners are just a good swing trade. Until it doubles my money and I can get all my principal out, that's kind of how I think about it. If I can pull my principal out and let the rest run, I'm happy. But until I get to that point, I got to keep doing these swing trades because these guys want your money too much. They're not just going to let it run in a straight line.
And some of what you've done is swing trade portions and hold other portions. And
Right.
there's all different combinations of what you can do. And there is no doubt if you're a swing
it's getting
trader.
Wrecked. See, it's getting wrecked.
Let's take a look.
Getting wrecked. Sorry.
I got to take a look because sometimes there have been times, I'm going to tell on you, George.
76 cents.
There's times where George will call me, this thing's getting destroyed, and I go look and it's down 4 cents. Like, okay, it's down.
It's down 44 cents.
All right, this is down pretty handily after hours. 4% is a big move to the downside, and that was a big announcement. And if this holds, you know, maybe this could be a buying opportunity. We'll see what happens. You know, what are some other things doing? Pick one. Pick a winner. Let's see what some other
pick Marathon.
What's Marathon doing?
I'm gonna say they're up, by the way.
Just about break even. Down 0.5%, a little more than 0.5%. So, you know, Marathon, Riot. Everything's a little bit.
Here's my next question. What companies are not going to have to dilute in the Bitcoin mining industry?
None.
None? They all have to?
If they want to succeed, they have to.
So Riot has to, Marathon has to, Hut has to.
Yes. Now, I will tell you, you mentioned two, and I see somebody in the comment section asking me to talk about this. There are two companies. There are several companies that have done an extremely good job about fortifying their balance sheet. And some of them have been big turnaround stories. Bitfarms in particular, as I mentioned, their balance sheet, in my opinion, was a nightmare 15 months ago. And now I think it's a very good balance sheet. They have a strong balance sheet. They have $80 or $90 million in liquidity, maybe more. I'll pull the report and look at the right number.
Yeah,
there are two companies in particular. Marathon has, in their operational report, for December, as of December 31st, between their cash holdings and their Bitcoin, and by the way, they are now over 15,000 Bitcoin in their hodl position, they have approximately $1 billion in liquidity. And to be fair, a company that gets absolutely destroyed in the comments section on my channel personally, I don't know what the rest of the world is doing, Riot has $900 million of liquidity. So those two companies, you know, are within a rounding error of $1 billion of liquidity on their balance sheet. And by the way, Riot has $900 million of liquidity and $0 of debt. So, you know, those two balance sheets are spectacular. But even those two companies will dilute because you don't get to, right? Marathon just put out a press release. They want to get to 50 exahash. Riot put out a press release that, you know, in the next year and a half, they want to get to 38 exahash, and then they want to get to 100 exahash. So you're not going to get to either one of those numbers without some stock dilution. So now, one of the things that happens is the bigger you are, the easier it is to grow. Because if you are Marathon, and we'll go back to them, and these numbers are not perfect. I'm looking at Yahoo, so, you know, any dilution that's been done in the middle isn't accounted for. But this is over a $5 billion market cap company. So there is room for them to, you know, they could go raise $500 million and it's 10% stock dilution. So you got to keep things in perspective. And like I said, you know, Cleanspark went from a $160 million company to a $2 billion market cap company. So they're in a much better position to put out a $500 million at the market offering. And if they get beat up for it, you know, so be it. And like I said, you know, if they get beat down enough, I will add to what is already my largest position.
Oh my goodness. Is there anybody who can catch Marathon? That's from William. Serious question.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Riot?
I'm going to show you. Let me find another chart. This is how fast things can change. Let me see if I pulled this up. Give me a second. And then let's think about what our new poll is going to be.
67% yes, 33% no.
And I think
Spot ETF on Wednesday.
I think it's worth commenting, George, that on this poll, every single time we've done it now, 4 times in a row, it's gotten lower and lower and lower. Less and less people are now confident that this is going to happen. This was through the roof 5 polls ago. And now,
well,
as the day approaches,
I was gonna read this, and you kept going, so I didn't read it.
Yeah,
Somebody
go
said
ahead.
something had to be. Hang on, let's see if I can find it. It was from Bloomberg, but it wasn't from the SEC. That they had to turn some S1 form in by 8 o'clock on Monday so that they can start trading on Thursday morning.
Well, just because they have to do that so they can start trading doesn't mean they're going to be able to start trading. What
Right,
it
right,
means
right.
is if they don't do that, then even if they do get approved, they still won't be able to start trading. So this is where people read into things in a danger. I'm glad that you brought that up because there's been a million reports like that. And like I said, if you guys do yourself a favor and just Google Bitcoin on YouTube, and you're going to see a page full of ETF confirmed, 100%, et cetera, et cetera. And please, on social media, including this channel, take everything with a grain of salt. You need to do your own due diligence. I mean, we do our absolute best to provide real information here, but in the end, we're human beings as well, and it's not our money, it's your money. Minute, and I'm pulling this report up.
I'm just glad I sold CleanSpark when I did. I'm not gonna lie though. Sorry that.
It may end up being a fantastic trade for you. So, and
I'm getting back now. Well, I'm gonna definitely get back in on probably Monday. Now it's only down 3.13%. By the way, it's coming back.
it's after hours. So remember 2 days ago in pre-market, 2 minutes before the market opened, everything was up between 10 and 18%. Everything was red within 15 minutes. There's a difference between pre-market and market. Okay, this is a chart of February of 2023. So this was, the beginning of this year. So
Can you
you're
move that
asking,
a little bit?
oh,
Can you move
yes.
it? Yeah,
Yeah,
or make me smaller or something.
nope, I can get this rate. Sorry, I forgot that it does that. Up.
There you go. Perfect.
Okay,
Perfect.
so you asked me, can somebody catch marathon a year from now? This was less than 1 year ago. Marathon 683, Riot 675. Right? I mean, they were neck and neck. Marathon's now almost triple this month. I'll show you this month.
What happened to Riot, man?
Happened to Riot. What happened to my? What happened to my?
Yeah, that'd be a good poll. Who would catch Marathon? But there's only two people. CleanSpark. Oh, wait a second. Tether is supposed to be getting into Bitcoin mining huge. Did you hear that, Tom?
Yes, but they will be huge is relative. It's going to take an awfully long time before they even get onto this list that I'm showing you right here. So just this is advanced. This is advanced notice. Everybody, all the top 10 have already reported. That was very quick in the month of December. This is what happened this December. So
You guys are making me want to buy Riot, just so you know.
if you if you look, Marathon mined 1,873, CleanSpark at number 2 at 720, Riot at 619, which seems awful. It's not as bad as it sounds. It's nowhere near what I would like it to be, but that's why I'm going to do a deep dive. This is a little more complicated than it looks like. But I will agree they should be mining more than this. In my opinion, I think they need to let us know what's going on here. But so in 1 year, these two went from, let me go back to the other chart. Not 1 year, in 10 months, they were 683 to 675. I mean, that's within the margin of error. That's a statistical tie in the month of February. And now in the month of December, whoops, what happened? In the month of December, they're 1,853 to 619. So things can change quickly. And I'll tell you one of the things that's about to change very quickly. CleanSpark's about to add 6 exahash. So this number is going to go way up. I will also tell you, Core Scientific is now starting to add exahash. They spent a year having their exahash dwindle bit by bit. And now this month, from November to December, they actually added exahash. So they went up in the number of Bitcoin mined. They went up in their exahash, and they intend to increase their exahash quite a bit. Riot has a huge plan to increase their exahash. Cypher has a big Bitfarms has a big plan as well. They're not going to catch Marathon, in 2024 unless something bad happens to Marathon. Iris Energy has big plans. So there's a lot of these companies. TerraWolf released a plan. Cypher has a plan to get to many, many multiples. So, I don't know if it'll be by December 31st, 2024. I think that it is highly likely that Marathon will mine the most Bitcoin in 2024, just like they did in 2023. But I do think as the year goes on, this will get closer and closer. And I think 2025, there's going to be a bunch of companies that are going to be vying for that spot. Marathon will, they've positioned themselves that they're going to be on the leaderboard, whether it's 1 or 2 or 3, and they could stay at 1 for years and years for all I know. It's going to depend on the execution of some other companies. So, and then another big piece of the puzzle is, it's one thing to mine the most Bitcoin. These companies are going to start to be judged by the end of 2024, by Q4 of 2024 and all of 2025. These companies will be judged by their financial performance much more so than their growth. People are going to want to see GAAP net income by the end of 2024 and certainly all of 2025. So, mining the most Bitcoin doesn't necessarily mean you made the most money, depending on what your cost of energy is, your gross profit margin, how much is your overhead, do you have debt that you have to service from an interest hits your bottom line. So there's a lot of factors. So there's a lot more. This is a very dynamic industry. It's a very young industry. The growth rate here is spectacular, and we're going to see big, big, big changes.
Tom, I have a question. Thomas just asked this question. Are you sure your Marathon numbers are correct?
Yes.
Okay. There's your answer. Yes.
Which number in specific? But yes, this
So
they might
mining for December.
Yeah, this is their so remember, and it says production. This is their production number for December. They broke their all-time record by a mile. In fact, give me a second.
Will we ever see that again?
I believe this will be the highest number for the next several years. A few things happened in the month of December. Number one, and they got 380 Bitcoin in fees. So that is just out of this world. I mean, if you go to the middle of this list, that's pretty close to how much these companies got all together. They got that in just fees. But the other thing was they mined 222 blocks. That was 5.1% of all the blocks mined in the world in the month of December. They've never been anywhere near that number. And it's outsized versus how many exahash they have versus the entire network. So the thing is, they have their own pool. They are now to scale. There's going to be some months, for those of you who don't know, and people might not like to hear this, and if you're big, it does average out over time, but luck is a factor in mining Bitcoin. So they had, quote unquote, a lucky month. They mined significantly more Bitcoin than the size that they are versus the overall network. That's going to happen sometimes. And sometimes they're going to have an unlucky month. Over time, when you're big enough, and they are big enough, being, in the neighborhood of, 4 or 5% of the total hash rate, they have their own pool, and things have been pretty steady for them. So this was one of their problems earlier in the year. When they had their own mining pool and they were 6 exahash, there were months they got extremely unlucky and their results were not good. So, now they
were bad.
Right. Yeah.
That's an understatement.
I was being nice, but yes, there were some very ugly months. Now, Prior to that, there was even some much worse months where, they had to shut down their entire operations. They moved every existing machine that they had in their, I think they were in Montana, if I'm remembering correctly. It was getting to be a long time ago. They closed their operations down 100% and they moved them all. So in between, things didn't go exactly as planned. There was a month where they mined 72 Bitcoin. So to put that in perspective, they just produced 1,853 Bitcoin. A year and a half ago, they had a month where they did 72. So, a lot of people got on me. My monthly operational update video for them was, I'm concerned. And, I think that was fair. Now, they've done everything they needed to do ultimately. And now their numbers are off the charts. But between the fact that they had 380 Bitcoin in fees, which is highly unusual. So we may see that again, but the fees were 10 times, at some point 20 times what the average has been over the last 2 years. So it's one of the reasons I said I think every single Bitcoin mining company will mine more in December than they did in November, despite the fact that the difficulty level went up. So they got all those fees, and then, they mined 222 blocks. They're actually off to the races again this year. If we take a look, I have their pool open somewhere. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 blocks already today. Yesterday,
I got a great pull, by the way.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 blocks yesterday. They did have a bad day in here. So on the third, the second, 2 blocks. So again, look, they did the same thing in all likelihood. Although sometimes they do, power down some machines and that kind of stuff. But this is what can happen. You mine 2 blocks one day, you mine 8 blocks the next day. Over time, it tends to average out, and you can see, they're mining a massive amount. Marathon's doing very well. If you guys haven't watched, I did a deep dive on Marathon. I went through this and a lot more in great detail. It's worth watching if you haven't watched it. And I will just tell you, spoiler, I gave their December operation report an A+. I just don't see how you can give it anything other than that. And I'm not a person who's in the tank for Marathon. In fact, a lot of people complain about, oh, you hate Marathon. It's like, I don't hate Marathon. When they were doing, when they weren't doing what they said they were going to do, I talked about it. Now they're doing what they said they were going to do and then some. So, congratulations to them and to all those who hold Marathon and are making money along the way. But for those 2 reasons, I do think you will not see another month with this number. They can still have A+ months and not beat this number. This is just an outsized, everything went right number. So let's end this poll. You got to, yes.
I don't know. I think this would be an interesting poll.
What do you got, George?
What is the best miner right now to invest in that's the most undervalued?
Well, you got to give 4 options. We only give 4 choices.
I know.
Let's have some people drop in the chat recommendations which 4 do you want in the poll to vote? Right. What's the best investment right now? Not what's the best Bitcoin miner from where their price is right now to where you think it's going in the future. What's the best investment?
And then we'll put that up. I think that'd be a good poll.
Yeah, we'll pick the 4 that tend to get the most in the chat. Right. We'll put those in the poll.
So I think this is a great opportunity to talk about a game that we're going to attend this weekend. Can we talk about that, or no, you don't want to tell people?
I can tell people. I know certain individuals are not.
So Miami versus Buffalo Bills. We're going to that game. And just so you know, if you're a Miami fan, you can just get off the channel right now.
Not true. All people are welcome. and I'm going to say something. We live in Southwest Florida, as most of you probably know. So we go, the Bills come here every year. We grew up very near Buffalo Stadium, so we saw a lot of the games up there. So we go to a lot of the Bills games in Miami, and I'm just gonna say I've been to a lot of stadiums in this country. The Miami fans are they are nice people. They're very cordial fans, and I'm not gonna name names. There are other stadiums that I've been to that I can I name names?
No.
I I gotta do it. I'm gonna make some people mad. Even at the Miami games, the Miami fans are extremely nice. I run into Jets fans at the
Oh
Miami
yeah.
game, and they're
Horrid.
I won't use any more words. That's all I'll
I'll
say.
never forget. I thought you're getting in a fight.
It's but the people in Miami are great. I love Miami. So I don't love the Miami Dolphins. Let's be crystal
It's
clear.
too bad we couldn't
We're
do
Bills fans.
5. Riot, Bitcoin, Bitfarms, HUD, Marathon, Core.
Crypto Rich said there's a reason that the only game in Miami sells out is the Bills game. Well, number one, there's tens of thousands of Bills fans at the Miami game when we go in Miami. It's
Yeah.
incredible. And number two, for both of those teams, I think that's we are each other's biggest rival. For a while it was the Patriots, but it was never really a rivalry. It was just the Patriots beating everybody up. So I can't even say Buffalo had a rivalry with them. We just got crushed by them for a decade.
Cleanspark, Marathon. It's hard to pick 4 because I don't think Marathon, Cleanspark, Riot, and Bitfarms. I don't think those are the 4 that one of those 4 are going to be the ones. I don't know. Do you?
We need to do what the people want, right? This is why we asked everybody in the chat. So you're reading the chat more than I am.
Yeah, I never
Try and
even thought
find the
about
top
that.
4.
I
And
never thought about it. We should have tried to get passes to get on the field. Press passes.
we're in a really nice spot. So we're not on the field though.
Core, second. Yeah. Core's so undervalued. Speaking of that, before we mention Core, do you think Core is a good buy, or do you just stay away from it because of they're still in bankruptcy?
Yes, for as much as I try to understand the transition from here to there, and this could be one of the ones that's a big win for people. Hertz, very famously, which is also a Southwest Florida company, their headquarters is nearby.
You cooking?
Um, was a gigantic win coming out of bankruptcy. It can happen. Typically, it's the opposite. So I don't I don't know the answer and I steer clear. There's so many investment opportunities. There's certain things I just steer clear of. So that may be the greatest opportunity on earth. If enough people want to, we'll put that on the list. Maybe you guys have, done the research and you feel very good about it. DEFCON 2 said Core has old machines, I believe.
Yeah, but they're still mining a ton.
They
My
are.
question is,
They
how
did.
fast do they do they go for raise money? That's my only problem with Core. I would imagine that they're almost immediately are going to go and raise money. That's what those companies do when they get out of bankruptcy. You don't agree with that?
No, that's one of the things that scares me about companies coming out of bankruptcy. I mean, they just had to restructure everything. A lot of their equity is going to go to the $1 billion of debt that they owed. Some of that, I'm sure they negotiated away altogether. Some will be left over for shareholders. Where do they go from there? They did say they have some growth plans. They did grow in December. So, and they plan, their plan is to have some substantial growth in 2024. So, but I just don't know what it means to an equity holder.
So this is hard. This is so hard.
Hard to pick the top 4.
Yeah, this is so hard.
Should we have 2 rounds of semifinals? We'll do 4
Yeah,
and then
maybe we should
4,
do
and
that
then
and
the
just
winner
do
of
it.
each one
Yeah,
play
and
each
just do
other.
it quick. Yeah.
Little round robin tournament. So let's pick 8, and then we'll do 4 at a time.
Okay. So first, then the first 4 would be, it would take the 2 highest from these 4. So
We'll take
do.
I think we should take the 4 highest from the 8.
Well,
Just in case.
So you get 4, you take the 2 out of it, silly.
Oh, yeah, that's what we just said, the same thing. Gotcha. Good point,
So
George.
do you want to do? So we'll do the 4 biggest companies, I guess. We'll do Marathon, CleanSpark, Riot, and who's the 4th one in value?
There's a bunch that are very similar in that $1 billion market cap range. So we're going to go Marathon, Riot, CleanSpark. We're doing the top 4. Oh, this is tough because I think we should do two of the top 4 in each bracket.
Okay.
So let's do those 2 and then Cypher, which is around $1 billion. Well, who else got added a bunch?
What do you mean? Who added a bunch of what?
In the chat. In the chat. Who
they're
did people
all over
want
the
to know?
place. They're all over the place. It's
Darren
not
S,
like
Darren S is saying Wolf and Midgie. I hadn't even considered Midgie, but Wolf I think would be one.
Yeah, Wolf I was putting in the next one.
All right, so let's do, this will be the first one. Then we'll do 4 more. And then
you're going to laugh, but I'm even going to tell everybody my number 1 pick.
So this is round 1, everybody. There will be 4 more we're going to choose from, and then we'll do a runoff.
And
by the way,
at the close of Friday the 5th, so it doesn't matter what they're doing after hours.
As of the close of business from now until, the peak of the bull market, what do you think the best investment is going to be? By the way, Bitcoin has been running, and we did just cross a very important line, and I am looking for...
Whoa! Dude, we do the best streams ever. You got to admit.
This green line right here at 44,192. I'm going to go to the daily because this conversation makes a lot more sense on the daily chart. On this day right here, which was December 8th, we closed at 44,241. And you can see I extended the line a little bit before that because that had been kind of resistance. That was the high close. And then that was resistance for several weeks. We have actually only had this day right here. It looked like we were going to break out. From start to finish, we were above this line. And the next day was a giant red candle. So we went right back below. So, this becomes, now we got to figure out, is this going to turn into a breakout or was this a fake out? So it went right back down. But then the next day, boom, straight back up within a few. This closed at 44,193. That can't even be true. Yeah, 44,193 was yesterday's daily candle close. That's $1 above the previous high close, other than this one outlier. So now here we are again today within a few dollars of that. We have a few hours, 1 hour left. So if this can close, if we get a nice run today and this closes above, this would be, there's a few things that we've been looking for and we keep getting oh so close and they just don't happen. So I would look for a close above this green line. And then secondly, and we're nowhere near this right now, you can see I drew a line on the daily RSI. We've been running into resistance at around 63.5. We hit that on December 14th. We retested it on December 22nd. Just a few days ago on January 2nd, we went right back up and got rejected again. Now, we're not even near that right now. So we do have some room to run, which is actually better. So, we've reset around 50. When Bitcoin runs, that we don't have to necessarily go all the way down to 30 or below to reset the daily RSI. When we're bouncing up around 80, if we bounce off of 50 a few times, that can be confirmation, that can be a line of support, and we can run from there. So the final thing would be, can we get this bullish crossover on the MACD? You can see a few days ago, We were very close. And in the middle of the day, these lines were touching. It looked like, in fact, I think this was actually green for 2 or 3 hours, but it doesn't matter intraday. It's where it closes. It closed in the red. We've been down a few days since. So we are really knocking on the door of maybe starting this run. We're over a month into anticipating a run from 44 to 48,000. So it hasn't happened yet. I think the next move is up. I've been saying that. We are basically stuck between 41 and 44,000. So we need to see a breakout. And it's important. This was a valuable lesson. Sorry. One day is not a breakout. One day is not confirmation. So we did break above, and this looked really good, right? We opened and closed above this line, but it was one day. Confirmation would be doing the same thing the next day. But instead, as is so often the case, the next day was a big red candle. So now that leaves us in limbo. So where do we go from there? Well, it looks like, we're really pressing hard against potentially getting this breakout. This line right here goes way, way back. This is 48,240. Remember I told you there was the last hurrah in April of 2022 when Bitcoin ran up to $48,000? Well, I'm going to go way back. This was March 28th of 2022. This candle wicked up to $48,240. That was it. Every single day since then was down until we got all the way down ultimately to, in the 15,500 range. We did level off around 17,500. That looked like it was going to be the bottom. Along came Sam Bankman-Fried and his buddies at FTX, and all of a sudden we went even lower down to 15,500, and that turned out to be the absolute bottom. But this was the top. Obviously, this wasn't the all-time high. This was the last hurrah. This was the last run up. So we have not been back there since. This was March of 2020. We're now in March of 2022. We're now in January of 2024. So we're coming up on 2 years trying to get back to this line. And I do think this is an absolute key line, because if we can get back above this, there's a trading range above this. So we could see some more movement to the upside. I always like to include in this conversation that, for every chance there is that we have a breakout and confirm a move to the upside, we have not retested a line of support in months and months and months. With the momentum that we've had, a lot of it has to do with the looming ETF and some other macro factors. We've just been on a vicious run to the upside. Yes, the last month we've been sideways inside of a range, but if I zoom out a little, you can see, I got to keep zooming out. Since this was FTX day, Tuesday, November 8th, 2022, we double bottomed, and from there, it's just been up. It's just been up. Now, we had 320% pullbacks early in the year, but since we broke out of this, since October, we have been either up in a straight line or sideways. So we have not retested a line of support. So the only reason I bring that up is that is a much more typical outcome. It resets all of the technicals, and we didn't get that. So it doesn't mean we have to. But there is the possibility that from here, this was a previous line of resistance back in September and October. This would be about a 14% pullback. So for Bitcoin to have a 14 or 15% pullback, that is no big deal. In 2023, which was a 150% up year, we had 3 20% pullbacks. So it would be no reason to panic. I know that's not what anybody wants. It's not what I want. I don't even think we're going to get it, but I do, we've got to leave the possibility open. We got to plan accordingly, which is why, again, as I dollar cost average in and buy the dips, I'm doing so very methodically and slowly, because I'm cognizant of the fact that we could have this pullback right here. That's still on the table. Having said that, my personal opinion is the next move is up. I think we will get this break. We may bounce around between 41 and 44 for a while longer, but I do think the next move's up to 48. That's my personal opinion.
And you didn't even say the main reason why.
Main reason why
46,100 was it? Or you don't want to tell people to liquidate?
Oh, well, that's a reason to run up. There would be some healthy liquidations. The shorts, I don't know if I have the liquidation heat map up. I might, but 46,100-ish. There's some pretty heavy shorts that would get liquidated at that point. So that may be one of the reasons we're running to that. We tend to gravitate, whether it's to the upside or the downside, when there's big lines of, potential liquidations. More often than not, we seem to go hit that number. So don't think I have the heat.
So just so you know, the poll is for the biggest return on your investment right now in the next 12 months.
All right.
And by the way, I agree with everybody. I voted Marathon too, just so everybody knows.
There might be a different way we make the finals.
Yeah, well, not only that, there's still 6 more miners out there that are all kind of right around the same. You know what I mean?
Let's go to the next round. We got a massive, thank you for participating. We got a massive amount of votes. Let's get through this. Let's go to the next round. So the clear absolute winner is Marathon. Really, nobody came in second place. Riot at 16%, Cypher at 14%, Wolf at 10%, Riot and Cypher in a virtual tie. What I'm going to say is, if there's standouts in the next group, maybe somebody will leapfrog. Right now, it would be Marathon and Riot that would move forward to the finals. But let's take a look at the next group first. Clearly, Marathon's moving on to the finals at an overwhelming victory in this group.
Well, actually, maybe we should do this. Do 4 more, and then take and just pick one from this, and then one from that, and then add the other 2.
Oh, those get a free pass to the finals?
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
if the next one's overwhelming again.
I'm giving 2 free passes to the final, which is going to be Bitfarms and Iris.
Wow. So those don't make it into the next group?
No, the next one. You ready for the next one?
Let me end this, and let me get the next poll going.
This is Christmas, by the way. Right now is Christmas time. I'm hearing a lot of thanks for all the information, everybody. This is why it makes a community really makes the difference when it comes into investing. You guys are saying a lot of stuff about the ETF and the filings that are going on. It's really good to see, and it's really good, especially when the people are trying to steal our money. Okay, you ready for the 4, Tom?
Give me one more second.
And this should take care of most of them.
Go.
Hive, Hut, Mawson, Cypress.
We did Cypher.
Oh, you did?
Got to get one more. So let's see. Let's see if we missed any big. We didn't
I'm
do
not doing
Cleanspark.
core.
Oh, we didn't do Cleanspark.
Cleanspark. Yeah. Cleanspark. Yeah. Yeah, prayers for the shorts to be wrecked next week. Yep.
Unless it's changed. Last time I checked, 46,100 is going to be a decent-sized liquidation event for the shorts.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it is. So you know that's coming.
Best Bitcoin mining investment.
Man.
Group 2.
This is hard. This is also helping me decide where I should move money to, by the way.
Oh, you're using this as financial advice?
Well, I mean, it's just it's a consensus, right? I mean, a little bit. So the best investment for 2024. Which one of these miners? Hive, Hut.
We almost forgot to put on the list the one that, I think is going to make a run in the finals. I don't know if it's going to win, which was CleanSpark. At the moment is winning, but plenty of time to vote. Thank you guys for voting early and often. This is great. This is great stuff, and we got one more of these. Thank you, the real Gary Gensler. I think George already read that. Nice to have Gary Gensler on the stream.
Yeah, you're a little late, like always, Gary.
You gonna do that ETF?
Yeah, you're gonna do that ETF. Yeah, I'm sure it was your hands getting tired signing everything. Sorry, I just laugh because I see everything. Do you think when we get, so where the pricing is of these Bitcoin miners today, do you think as we get past the halving, it will separate out between the people that are going to make it and the people that aren't going to make it?
I think
Bitcoin miners.
I think even before the halving, as we approach, and I don't know what the magic day is, but at some point as we approach the halving, I think the market is going to start to panic on 5 or 6 of these miners at least. And the problem is it starts to become a little bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy, because there's 2 ways that I can see. There's some Bitcoin miners that I do think the numbers don't look good on. And listen, I can't sit here and say anybody is doomed. I can't sit here and say Gree's going out of business, for instance, because you never know. But the 2 big factors would be, there's 2 ways that some of these companies on the brink could make it to the other side. Number 1 would be Bitcoin having a monster run early, at or near the halving or shortly thereafter. Because obviously the economics change. So, if Bitcoin runs up to $80,000, some of these companies' cash flow situation may end up working, whereas at 40,000, 50,000, or even 60,000, they don't work. For the smaller companies. The other thing that could save some of these companies, and I do believe one has already fallen into this and has been, I'm saying saved, but has turned the corner, I guess would be a better way to say it. I was deeply concerned about TeraWulf, not because I didn't think it was a good company. Like, I could give you a list of things that I think TeraWulf does very well. My concern was they had an overwhelming amount of debt, and I just didn't see, as a roughly $200 million market cap company, 3.5 months ago, how they were going to get rid of $100+ million in debt and get from here to there. Now, even after a giant pullback, I'm going to pull up their chart. So they got beat up pretty good, just like all the Bitcoin miners did in the last 6 or 7 trading days. Even after that, they're a $464 million market cap company. So, they were up to $700 million. And I do think that these companies will run back up to where they were. They hit local highs just a week and a half ago. I do think we'll take out those highs. That's my opinion. So, at $500 million, $600 million, $700 million market cap, I think TeraWulf is out of the woods. I'm not invested in this company. This is not financial advice. Only time will tell. And we don't know what the price of Bitcoin will be at the halving. But the other thing about TeraWulf is they have a fantastic cost per coin versus their peers. So that works in their favor. So, the economics work for them. But, to give another, and again, I don't know what's going to happen, but to give another example, if I go to Gree, they're a $46 million company. So, they have no lifeline. They can't forget a $500 million at the market offering. They can't do a $50 million at the market offering. They're a $46 million company. So, the 2 things that can help these companies is a big run up in their stock, creating a lot more market cap, opening the door. There's 3 ways to raise money: through cash flow from operations, through debt, which is off the table for these companies. I could just tell you, these small companies, almost no Bitcoin miner is going to get any substantial amount of debt. The small companies, the likelihood of them getting any debt at all is next to nil. And then the third way would be to raise equity. But if you have no equity, You can't raise more equity. That's, that's the catch-22 situation I think some of these companies are heading towards. So we're not there yet, so we don't know what's going to happen, but I do think some of these companies are moving quickly in that direction, and they're going to need help. That answers whatever
Okay.
your question was.
I don't even know what you're talking about. CleanSpark won that one. So Marathon, CleanSpark, Bitfarms, and Iris for the last 4.
And fortunately, in both polls, really nobody was even close to second place.
Yeah.
So
It was really cool going there.
it'll be interesting to see the two you held off the board and moved right to the. It's like, what's that show where they press the golden buzzer?
Yeah.
They just get to go straight.
Americans Got Talent or something like that?
I don't even know which one it is, but so Bitfarms and Iris Energy got the golden buzzer. They get to go straight to the finals. Okay, last poll. Thanks again for your participation, everybody.
What's so funny is Tom doesn't even know the stuff I do. He doesn't even look at my screen.
What's going on over there?
Nothing. I'm just keeping it live. This is just proof that CleanSpark does actually own machines. Yes. So Iris got it the first round by. Yep. Can we have a loser bracket? Yes, we should.
I wish anybody even got enough. Hut was the only one that even got enough votes to get into the losers bracket. Okay. Third of 3 polls. Best Bitcoin miner investment. The finals. Marathon, CleanSpark, Bitfarms, or Iris. 2 of these got a pass to get to the final round. 2 of these earned their way onto this board. Who will win? Will we have a shocking first round bye victory?
What's Iris trading at right now, Tom?
So they are at $6.19. So they did run up. They were well over $9 a week ago. But having said that, they've been
6. What are their exahash?
Let's pull up. Let's go to the board. I'll show you their results. First thing is, so if we go back in time to November 22nd, not that long ago, not even a month and a half ago, they were at $2.86.
Ooh.
Iris Energy. So I will admit this was a screaming buy at that point. I sold them at $5. I did not buy them back. In hindsight, that seems like it would have been a great move. They got all the way up to around $9.70. From there, they've now pulled back 36%. Seems like a lot, but again, they pulled back to all the way back to where they were December 21st, just about 2 weeks ago. So, and this is what most of the companies have done. This is not some outlying performance. This is not awful performance. Most of the Bitcoin mining companies did approximately this.
I'm leaning towards Bitfarms or Iris, just so you know.
This is very. Oh, you're leaning towards
3. CleanSpark 2, though. I mean, the only reason I don't think Marathon's going to do it is Marathon closed at what? 25?
Let's go to Marathon. Marathon closed at 24. They were just 24. Recently over $31. Yeah. And remember, their high from November 2021 was $83. Doesn't mean they're going to get back there, but they were already there. They were there when they were mining, you know, insignificant amounts of Bitcoin. They just mined 1,800 Bitcoin last month.
Okay, let me just ask one more question. Bitfarms.
Take a look at the Bitfarms chart and info. Okay, Bitfarms traded at a high of, let's see, their high was $3.56 last week. If I remember correctly, at the peak of the previous bull market, they got to $9.36 on like November 9th or November 10th. So, you know, from $2.72, there's a long way up to $9.
$2. We're 272.
They closed at, or they're at 272. Yeah, they closed today at 272.
8, 9. So now I'm changing my mind. What was the high of CleanSpark?
CleanSpark's a tricky one. So CleanSpark's high at the peak of the bull market in November. When Bitcoin hit its all-time high, CleanSpark got up to, I think, $23.60. So that was their high in November. Now, to be fair, in January, that was November of 2021. In January of 2021, CleanSpark got up to $40. So their high of the year 2021 was $40. I don't count that in my mind. I tried to count everybody. Where were they at the peak of the bull market? Because remember, at that time, while they were mining Bitcoin, they had just begun. They had mined only a handful of Bitcoin in total as a company. They had been mining Bitcoin for a month and a half. They were a microgrid company. All right, so I'm not sure that 40 is fair. I think 23.6, but having said that,
I picked the lowest.
I think they're going to go way past. My price target for them is not financial advice. My price target is way higher than that.
So the reason why I asked about this question, and I was curious about it for my investment strategy, is like I have Marathon, I have CleanSpark, but I don't have Bitfarms. So to me, it would make sense for me to add some Bitfarms. You see what I mean? That was the reason why, because it's like, you know, what people think are going to be the best performing Bitcoin miners this year are Marathon, CleanSpark, and number 3 at 22% is Bitfarms.
Bitfarms did surprisingly well in this poll. We'll leave it open for another minute or two, but it's gotten a lot of votes. Actually, it's super. This poll is not over.
Yeah.
We'll leave it open for a little bit more, and then we'll move on from this. But this was very interesting. It's down to 2, but Bitfarms finished in a super solid third place at 22%. Remember, that's more than any of the other companies got in the other 2 polls, and Bitfarms had to go up against the 2 winners, and they still got 22%. So had they been in one of the first 2 groups, who knows what would have happened.
Thanks, Gary Ginsler. 300 likes, smash it. We got the 318. Thank you so much.
Very nice. Anybody, if you have not yet, if you could please be so kind as to smash the like button, it is much appreciated. Thanks again to all of the members and all subscribers. And if anybody is here sent here by Uncle Larry, welcome to our group. Much appreciated.
Isn't it living like Larry?
Stock up with Larry Jones.
Living like Larry.
That's we are not affiliated with that. No, and if you guys don't, if you're here from Larry, thank you and welcome, and thanks for subscribing, because I know a lot of you guys did come over, watch yesterday's video, and subscribe, so that is much appreciated. And for those of you not familiar with Larry,
you bastards.
For those of you not familiar with Larry, I would go check his channel out. Stock up with Larry Jones. He's a great guy, great channel.
I'm sure you guys did this just to make it so there's a tie. Only you guys.
Unbelievable.
Do we do a tie off?
It's only been 7 minutes, so we'll give it a few more minutes and see if somebody breaks. This is no surprise to me at all. These are the 2 that I thought would duke it out. The fact that it's an absolute tie right now, of course, is a little bit coincidental, but I thought these were the 2 heavy favorites coming in. I'll give you guys my answer, and you guys disagree with me. I actually think Bitfarms.
Oh, you liked what I? Oh, really?
Yes. And that doesn't mean I don't like the other two. Remember, CleanSpark's my largest position. So I'm not sitting here saying I don't think CleanSpark's a great investment. I do. I just think there's maybe a little more room to the upside for Bitfarms.
Oh,
Could be
that's what I
wrong.
picked, Tom, and I didn't even know that we settled on the same one. But the difference is you have Bitfarms. I don't.
I do. I have Bitfarms as one of my large positions. But listen, I don't think you're going to go wrong. You know, if you're in Marathon, we just saw their numbers. Let's go back to these numbers because these are worth a look. And these are not the numbers. These are. I mean, look at Marathon, right? I mean, it's hard to argue that this is a bad investment. This is a chart of the top 10 Bitcoin miners. And really, by the way, because I didn't count Core Scientific, this is the top 11.
Did we miss a super chat from you, Darren? I'm sorry. Did you miss a super chat from Darren?
Let me rewind.
No, I'll go back. I can't find it.
Aha!
That was
No,
not
that's-
done on purpose.
No, that's not it. This is the real Gary Gensler. I got to keep going
I could
back.
see Darren just messing with us, effing
Real
with
Gary
us.
Gensler. Darren S. Yeah, all four should be below the July highs. Wolf and Mawson. So that's a good line of reasoning, right? If it's a company that hasn't reached its July high yet, in theory, there's potentially more room to the upside because it hasn't had its run yet. So that makes a lot of sense. I do think maybe I'm wrong. I think we included one of those in each one of the polls. And it's funny because 4 weeks ago, only Bitfarms and CleanSpark had reached their July highs. None of the other companies had even gotten back to where they were in July of 2023. So, that subsequent to that, a lot of them did catch up and pass those highs. So to me, that there's a lot of room to the upside. So if we go, I have that marked on every chart. Like the July high for Bitfarms, so they are way past their July highs. So let's take a look at Wolf.
I'm gonna have to sneak out here any minute because I'm getting yelled at because I'm supposed to make the burgers tonight.
We've gone super long, so we'll wrap it up. We'll wrap it up.
Merry
in a
Christmas,
minute
everybody!
Well.
ETF coming, I pray.
Oh yeah, hey, listen. By the time we have our live stream next Friday, for all we know,
are we gonna do an emergency stream on Wednesday? That's the question. If we have an ETF, we're definitely doing a stream.
Absolutely. Just so that you guys know, we have a members only live stream every Tuesday after the market close. If you're interested, our membership is only $5 a month, and it does help support the channel. And we have members only live stream. So other than that, we have a live stream every Friday for everybody, which is obviously what we're in the middle of right now. And then whenever, if there's a big day, we like to get on and talk about it. Whether it's a great day, sometimes we'll get on because it was a spectacular day. But however, like this week, there was an awful day. So we jumped on that day because you know what? Those are just as important as a group to get together. We have a fantastic group. Again, thank you everybody to all of the members.
Thank you so much.
All the members, especially all the subscribers, all the people who reoccurringly come and participate in our live streams. This is a great group. And, on those down days, it's nice to get together and brainstorm and talk and, it's a support group, if you will. Informal support group in addition to whatever else you want to call it. And this is a great group. So thank you so much to everybody. I don't know how to call this poll. Should we call it now all of a sudden? CleanSpark 37, Marathon 30. It's almost not fair. I think within the margin of error, I hate ties, but is this a tie? Or do you want to call CleanSpark the winner?
You got to call him the winner.
Marathon was ahead the vast majority of the time, but...
So what?
That's it. Listen, the numbers are the numbers. I can sugarcoat them all I want.
I'm gonna put our Discord in that you guys that chat goes on all the time. But if you guys start yelling at each other, I don't care. I mean, it's just whatever. I just can't deal with that, guys. You guys
Yeah.
have to be adults.
Everybody,
You know.
please
Yeah, I mean,
try to
it was
have
it was so
productive.
funny. It was so sad and so funny because we all know what I'm talking about if you guys are in the Discord. It just is what it is. I'm not gonna police it. Tom's not gonna police it. We don't have time, guys. I mean, Tom's always investing in what stocks to, invest into. And hey,
I'm
one
doing
thing I
research
saw,
most of my waking hours.
Seth asked, "Is AMC a buy at $5?"
AMC? I do not get involved in the AMC
You don't even
madness.
Look at it. Okay.
Well, remember, that's a meme stock.
I know what it is.
And is
I'm
it a
just glad
buy?
they're
It is
still
if it
open.
goes to 30. AMC is funny. That is a company just before the meme thing started happening, whenever that was, maybe 2 or 3 months before that, I picked 5 stocks that I was fairly certain were going out of business. And I was considering buying puts on them. Just from the fundamentals of their company, it just seemed like there was really no way for them to survive. Then wouldn't you know, an AMC was one of, they were done. They were done. And then all of a sudden, they got to raise like $500 million or $1 billion because everybody just decided to pump their stock for no reason under the sun. And they weren't alone. You guys know the meme stocks. There was 3 or 4 gigantic meme stocks. And, you can't, when a company's not trading on fundamentals and it's not trading on technicals and it's trading because there's some Reddit site that said, everybody buy this tomorrow. I don't know how to react to that.
I gotta go, guys. I'll see you.
All right. Thanks, George. Thanks so much.
Ya.
We'll see you for the football game.
Yes, see you.
All right. I'm going to wrap it up as well. We went super long today. Thank you guys again so much. I know today was not the greatest day for the Bitcoin miners, but let's finish up. All right. So, we're above and below this line right here. We're 14 minutes away from a daily candle close. We'll see what happens. Regardless of that, we have all weekend. And then obviously next week, one way or the other, we are going to know the answer to, are we getting this spot ETF on the magic day on, January 10th. So everybody, please enjoy your weekend. Have a safe weekend. Have a great weekend. And I will be doing some videos this weekend as well, so you can check those out. So thanks so much. Enjoy your weekend. Everybody have a good night.